So we're going to have a very interesting conversation today. So let me kind of start with a quick background. So today we are going to discuss on what are the recent advancement in the field of SIEM, how SIEM is changing. I believe SIEM has gone through a pretty decent change in terms of the way how it was, and it's moving in a very interesting direction. So we'll discuss on some of those gaps in the earlier SIEM technologies and what the changes it's going through. We're going to discuss about some of the case studies and also some of the experiences of SIEM in terms of architecting, designing, and implementing the SIEM solutions. We'll discuss on the ideal architecture of an SIEM deployment. What should you consider by you're trying to deploy an SIEM solution? And also we will discuss a little bit on how should one evaluate an SIEM technology. So that's like the broad, high-level agenda, the way we are going to have this discussion today. And of course, towards the end, we'll open up for questions from the audience. So before we get into the presentation, Ishtiaq, I just wanted to have a quick interaction with you in terms of your experience while you tried to deploy SIEM in various organizations. Which are the areas where you noticed that the customers had some pain point or their major problems were not fully being solved, or the SIEM technologies are not fully well equipped to handle those scenarios? Can you please talk about a little bit on the gaps in terms of the kind of yesteryear's SIEM?
Thanks, Vikas. Thanks everybody to join the WebEx today. So I will start with my introduction that I have expertise in the security, information, and event management platform as a whole. So I will try to explain a bit about like what all things we have done over the entire course of duration which we discussed today, right from the need of evolving SIEM platform on the domain as a whole, and what is the need for advanced technologies or advanced approach towards the garnering the best out of an SIEM solution, which helps us to get into the better the cost of ownerships and the security posturing of a particular organization. So I have worked in developing the entire security operations centers of leading organizations within India and the global organizations, most of them being well spread over, having the geo spread across the world, with diverse platforms of the domains from the banking, financial sector, from the healthcare, pharma sector, or from your manufacturing sector. So most of these use cases of a particular SIEM technology depend on the need or the drivers, maybe the compliance, or maybe the top security requirements, or the breach response mechanism. So these are kind of drivers for the entire SIEM project management, or the key compliance requirements which aid our security organization as a whole, our CISOs or CIOs, to have a sense of clarity, visibility, and analytical capabilities to see what all things we have in our system, what's going on in my network, what all information assets are being accessed from outside or from within the organization. Is the right person who is trying to access all these assets? Now, coming to the point of the deployments, the implementations, there are some gaps which maybe the market-driven gaps or the maturity level gaps which are there. That's what the common approach what we all take as an architect or a solutioning proposition is, to get into that act of correcting all those gaps by way of bridging the an understanding of an outcome of an SIEM deployment and matching it with the expectations which are the need of an hour based on the security posturing which is happening around the world. Like we have targeted attacks, we have nation state actors, we have kind of the advancement of tools which are used in these kinds of targeted attacks. We need to match the competency level or the kind of speed with which they can change or change the way of attacking or this discourse of slow and low attacks, which are very common. We have zero-day attacks. We have the common terminologies used in this next phase of these like APTs. So how do we cater to the basic security needs and then also have a visibility into the advanced persistent threats or the advanced security attacks, which are constantly a threat to the information which I have as an organizational CIO or a CISO. So what kind of threats are posing by way of my critical assets which are exposed to the external actors like and a typical organization these days has everything like from the employees to the contractors to third-party vendors. We have an outsourcing model. We have a MSS model. We have different models wherein every organization wants to get into the network like kind of a thing, like a mesh kind of architecture, wherein they want to have visibility and of the data and the kind of business engagements with very diverse fields. Like you can say, a typical company has, first of all, a geo-spread organization. They have different kind of verticals. Then verticals have what integrated sub-verticals. They talk to each other. They share the information. Some of the information is shared with contractors. And there is a need of that sharing model because it's business driven. It ultimately boils down to what kind of business I am gaining from this sharing of information. The more information.
So you believe like it's not just earlier it was a correlation problem, now it's also more than that. It's also sharing and interaction process, and you need to talk to quite a few entities, right?
Exactly. So if I in a nutshell, I'll just say every security is like we can say as an insurance asset to safeguard the security needs of your organization. Now, for a basic organization, what you need, you have user or an employee. So what does this employee have to get access to the resource within your organization? You have an intellectual property asset. So the user needs an ID. So that we call an identity. What is the user's identity? It can be user A, B, C, D. What's the role of that user? Now, when you have multiple applications and they have multiple level of roles or entitlements or accesses, then it gets very difficult to manage by a manual process. This gives rise to a risk of losing the intellectual data. Now, starting from the identity, we can say controls or the management to mapping it to the risk of the data which is being shared or used by these resources. That may be contractors, they be internal employees, or they be third-party vendors or the general public. Depends on the criticality of the data. Now, all this information is digital. It's available internet. So to speed up the businesses, people now are going towards the web mode or the internet mode, or even in India also we have a lot of people focusing on, especially the government now focusing on the e-governance initiatives. So this will give rise to more and more kind of threats which are targeted on the risk data or the high risk information which is available.
Yeah, and I think from your side, we are not able to transfer the ability to manage the screen. So we need to help you out. So we will try to take you through I mean, we'll try to understand and move you through the presentation. In case you see that we have moved too fast or and you need to do it differently, just let us know. Is that okay? So that we could get to the presentation, and we will control it from our side.
Yeah, that's okay. Please go ahead.
Okay, that's good. So please continue. We will try to match the pace of the presentation. Somehow we will not be able to transfer the rights to you so that you control the presentation. So
Sure.
please do let us know whenever you want us to go back or go forward.
Okay, great. So can you please start it now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so coming back to the point of discussing overall the need of the security, we have to have this overall visibility of what all things are going on in my network. So to start with, I need to understand what is happening in my network. Okay, so now if we see these days, we have a like kind of daily we hear about the attacks. I think before last week we got a recent attack of Anthem, which was target on the healthcare, with just taking out all the information, the public information available within the healthcare vertical or an insurance vertical, which poses the risks to the data, which is very much important. Now, the issue with this cyber espionage or the growth of the incidents over the last so many years, it is increasing alarmingly, and because the way we are trying to approach the data is made available at a speed, the same way there are the vendors who try to access this information and get this information out of a particular organization. Now, to cater to this kind of growth, we need a wider variety of threat actions, like to see into different visibility patterns, like who is coming into my network, what are they seeing, what are they trying to take out of the network, is it a normal behavior or it's an abnormal behavior, is the right person to take this information or it's not. So here is the report which is on your screen right now. This was a statistics which was done by Verizon. They published the Verizon data breach report. So it's 2014 data, which is showcasing that there's a 3x growth in the increased number of growth of incidents like it's consistently raising, and the level of attacks are getting higher and higher. The complexity of the attack. Now, earlier we were having a lot of attacks which were in the zone of like we could have treated the pattern that okay, it's a known pattern, but somehow we're not able to do it because every day the hackers or the attackers are trying to up the game and do something different, try to explore more and more unknown zones of vulnerabilities, which definitely are a key concern for the security community also right now. And that's why the security is a continuous process, and the better visibility and the better response mechanisms we have, we will be able to cater to those kind of attacks and stop something of a nature of a risky information to get out in the public. And because if we see from the last 2014 year, examples of largest breaches which happened across the world, most of the top-level executives had to step down in some of the companies because of the kind of attacks and the lack of the mechanism for the breach in place. So there were a lot of such kind of high-profile incidents which came into picture, and those gave very much a different approach for the security community. And there is a paradigm shift now, which is shifting towards the pervasive visibility, which we'll just have a picture in the next slide. So can you just move ahead? This is the same data from the Verizon 2014 data breach also. So this also speaks about the same 85% of the victims. So, like if you see from the 2014 slides, you must have seen, if some of you have gone through that report in detail, you'll see that that report contains of information which says people don't know that they have got breached. So there is a very good statistics which we have recently in one of the leading executive magazines, which was an interview from the RSA president, which he commented in a very bigger manner that there are only two types of organizations existing in the current security scenario in the world. One is that which is breached and it's known in public. One is that which is not knowing that they have already got breached. So there is no one in this organization which can claim that they are 100% saved. And the other slide is that you can say that we had, so all of the organizations we talk to, they say that we have perimeter security in place, we have firewalls, we have IDS, we have DP level securities, we have IPS, antivirus mechanisms. Why should I know? Even we have organizations, they have malware sandboxes in place, they have honeypots, they have got the pervasive mechanisms in silos. Even an organization has an SIEM also. Now, why these traditional security tools are failing? There are key reasons. One, which we discussed, the landscape, the security landscape is changing, and the attackers are getting very much complex day by day. There are multiple levels of attacks. The attacks start over a longer period of time, and it is not, they act like a normal behavior. So behavioral-based patterns are also a challenge, like individually you cannot have. But there are a lot of factors and actors and vectors which need to be taken into consideration while defining a particular incident. So you cannot define a set pattern that this is what will happen and I will get an incident that this is confirmed a breach or confirmed incident or hack. So there are a lot of challenges in which security communities facing as a whole. So there is a need of, so like I can say a signature-based solution. What does it do? It has got known. It means the things which I know, I will be able to detect it and protect it or monitor it or report it. You take actions on that. Same is available for all these things. So they work in silos. We don't have a...
Yeah, and I remember you were telling yesterday, Ishtiaq, that in our chat yesterday that initially it was the rule-based system, and obviously rule-based system has its deficiency that you could fool the system when it is outside the rule-based. Then came the behavior-based system, but then with the behavior-based system you mentioned about the challenge that figuring out the baseline behavior is a challenge. How do we understand this baseline behavior? And how do we train that? And during the training phase, if an attacker starts poisoning the data, then we might end up having a trained behavior which is not normal. So both the kind of signature-based or rule-based system and the or the statistical model as well as the behavior-based system got its own kind of pros and cons.
Exactly, because yeah, so that is what we had discussed earlier on this also. So if you see in the next slide, you can get a bit of understanding of why we have these kind of issues with the traditional security. Like you said rightly that they are mostly from the rule-based patterns on that. They send you like a particular rule set. It defines that, okay, there's a particular action. It's one-dimensional. Now, because today's environment is very complex, in earlier organizations there was a rule set, okay, 9 a.m. employee will come, he will log into his mailbox and he will send mail mostly to internal or external employees. That is the activity they will do. Or they will mostly attach some data, and the complexity of data was not there. And people had firewalls in place. So normal HTTP was treated as a safe haven for getting the access with the rule-based or ACLs in place. Now, if you see the complexity of the attacks these days, most of the attacks, when they infect a machine or a user or an asset within an organization, what they do is they then try to communicate on the known channels which are safe. Like you have an example in your screen right now, the visibility. Why visibility is important? I'm saying visibility is important for everything. You are collecting firewall visibility. Something happened on firewall. It got blocked. Was there any corresponding event on IDS or IPS? Is there any mechanism that I can correlate the two sessions or see what was happened? Was there any trigger point before that or after that? Can I baseline this pattern? Can I see some change in the patterns of this activity based on sessions, based on the logs, based on other points like what happened on endpoint at that time? Was this user a proper user? Were there any login failures before that? Was something downloaded before this particular event happened? So all these things help us. So if you see, if I have a particular attack source which is trying to access a corporate asset, if the sequence if you see, I have firewall block the session. It's okay. IDS has blocked the session. Everything goes into SIEM as of now. What organizations who are mature enough to the SIEM level, who have got SIEM's place, what they do is they have all the things coming from all these logs, the event logs. They collect it at one place. They think that they have the visibility. But are these logs giving you the entire visibility? Are you able to correlate it in a pattern-based manner that if a particular IPS or an IDS signature got triggered on an outside interface on your perimeter IPS, now corresponding to that, there was an antivirus within your system, one of the assets in one of the user zones, it got failure on the AV update. That means, how do I correspond these two events? There is in between another channel. What happened on that user when the signature triggered on your outside interface? Was there anything else which happened between this? So I am missing that part. What and how? I have the silo information. I am not able to conclude the entire attack scenario unless I go and do the analysis. It takes me 1 or 2 days or 3 days or weeks to correspond to that. So that's where, because I don't have the complete root cause analysis, which is an operational challenge to mitigate the kind of attacks which are happening these days. If you go to the next slide, I'll just focus on why this pervasive visibility is essential. So that's where we bring in our environment. We call it as a unified analytical platform, which has got the capabilities to help us churn this data into actionable intelligence and give some actionable data for working on the real incidents, help us prioritizing the assets which are more important or which are critical for the business, and help us to achieve the compliance reporting part of it. Because every security has got two mandates. One is securing the data, which gives rise to two things. One is adhering to the regulation and the compliance, and then reporting those compliance metrics to your management and the governing bodies, or you can say the regulators or the compliance monitoring bodies. So every organization is bound by some or the other regulations, and day by day the kind of regulations and the kind of compliance requirements are getting bigger and complex. And everyone needs to have their entire organization certified on certain platforms, adhering to certain norms and conditions. Now, if I see the example, before I was having SIEM only, I was telling everyone that I have an SIEM. I do collect all these things from firewall, IDS, IPS, TLP in place. I get logs from that also. I get logs from proxy. I get logs from your identity and access management solutions. But was I able to do anything? No. I was not able to comprehend, or I was not able to correlate between the data. For that, I need, what I did is, I have taken a simple example on the right-hand side of your screen. You see, that says I am taking 3 logs from 3 diverse sources. One of the sources I have is a firewall source. From firewall, I will get an information which says there is an IP address which got blocked or which got allowed or what was the port it was using. So I will have this information and I can comprehend that, okay, this IP address belongs to a particular geolocation which is in this example as a Brazil. So now this adding the contextual information on top of a log, which is normally not comprehending anything on top of it. This is called the intelligence, which you give this, which you add on the basic infrastructure, which is within your event sources. All event sources, either they are packets, they are logs, they are your endpoint logs or endpoint data, or they are your network or event sources. Logs I am collecting from firewall, I am collecting from authentication bands, like an AD kind of thing. So I am able to see this firewall log that there's a, it is pretty simple. There is one firewall log which is saying that an IP address is trying to access from a country called known as Brazil. And from what was the username? It was JSmith, for example. And the authentication log using, okay, yeah, this particular IP address was accessed and the username is JSmith. This is a high-risk user. And the asset on which this user lies is an SQL server. Obviously, the database is high risk. Now, with the first two, firewall log and authentication log, am I able to comprehend anything? I am able to see only one information coming out of it, which is meaningful to me. That is, something happened on a high asset or high risk asset. So what happened? So can you just go back, because I think it's just one slide back. I just want to complete that slide.
This is the one or the previous one?
The previous one. There was the last one part of it is?
Yes. The pervasive visibility.
Yeah, that's the pervasive visibility. So yeah, what exactly is there we have is, in that pervasive visibility, the last of the slides we have is, we collect network session, we collect the packets. What is this packet basically? This packet is basically, it shows me that this particular user who has tried to access with a username JSmith from the country Brazil on a particular asset which is SQL server with a high risk rating. There was an action called get from a event from a user browser called SQL server, and from a browser called Firefox, and the data was 200 KBs. There was an HTTP request. So I'm able to see the actual data from the actual packets, that this is what is transferring on the line, the actual wire transfer between this user and the end user who is trying to access that information. So this is the level of visibility I require to have when I'm trying to mitigate the current scenario of attacks which is happening, which is very complex, and we need to have a complete visibility of all the points of or the sources of information generation. Yeah, we can move right now. So I think this is making sense to all of us to understand the need of the visibility of collection, first of all, from the varied source of information. Whatever is available, you should collect it. And then once the collection visibility has increased, we got collection points done. Then you have a next line is what to do with that. You need to analyze this data. And analysis has to be very powerful. So as I was discussing this evolving IT infrastructure in my initial comments also, we have data centers varying from on-premise, or we take the cloud-centric approach, or a hybrid kind of approach. We have users coming with their BYOD devices, or mobility is there. We have got customers, partners, we have got third-party vendors, we have got outsourcing partners, MSS partners, we have got network service provider partners. A lot of things are happening in the parallel paradigm, which definitely is creating a lot of information, and this information needs to have some meaning, and it needs to be protected first of all. So if you just click once again, because there is the need for, so all of these are like linked to each other. I cannot have, see, I have an information which is either on cloud or on-premise. That information is accessible to, I can give access to, like it is, that's the need of the business. I have to give it this access to either a partner or a customer or someone else. So now there are some external threats to this data which are now, because I'm published outside. You can just click next. So I am now exposed to internet. I'm prone to threats. What is prone to threats is my identity that's prone. I am prone to breach the compliance requirements because I will get attacked. I will have to prepare myself for that, having the wide this kind of visibility. Now we have fraudsters, we have cyber criminals. They are always against this kind of information, wherein your information is available. They will definitely try to access your information or steal the information, try to create some kind of noise within the organization, just for various reasons which are known to all of us. There are a lot of factors and actors behind all those kind of activities. There can be cyber criminals who are looking after financial gains, who are looking after some other attacks. Obviously, and as an organization, you are under threat always if you are having this kind of attacks. And then another dimension to it is that there are internal threats also. Internal users who are disgruntled, or they want to sabotage your reputation, brand reputation within the network. They want to steal the information, or they want to do some hedging or some appropriation within the organization. They can take advantages of the loopholes within your security, and obviously your risk data, that is your critical assets, are the high IP data or the intellectual property data, which is of very high importance, or we can say the critical importance, is always in danger of getting exploited. So obviously the solution for the needs we have is, we call it an intelligence-driven security. So what we now say that the solution of is, as I said, we need to have visibility, collect from all the locations, collect from all the available aiding sources, whether it be networks, be logs, be endpoints, be your cloud architecture or infrastructure. You collect from everywhere, wherever your identities are placed, wherever your information is stored. See who is accessing that information, why they are accessing, are they entitled to access. Now, once you have visibility, you can have analysis on top of it. And analysis will give us ways to prioritize what exactly has been analyzed. Your investigators will get the capability. They should have the capabilities to have a high-powered analytical platform. And the conventional RDBMS has got these kind of like approach, which is very delayed approach kind of thing, which obviously is not scalable enough to have this much of ingestion rates and then perform the kind of analytics on top of it. So the approach which is taken by the security analytics platforms these days across the board, all organizations, they are moving towards a warehouse kind of architecture wherein they do the analytics and provide the faster responses to the analytical capabilities of a particular solution. And this gives rise to some incidents. Okay, I got one incident. I found that, okay, these things are there. Now I got to confirm the incident. What to do with it? Is it an incident which was which happened on a open system which I don't care about right now? I will look into after this in next 2 hours or 4 hours. But right now there's another incident which has got raised, which is of high criticality, which is on an asset which is of my business critical application, which has got breached or which has got a security incident on. So that prioritization and intelligence, we can say fusing of the intelligence of that kind of platform gives me the intelligence enough to have and actionable intelligence. And that is why this entire solution gives me visibility, analysis, and action in context of business and IT risk. So IT risks, like you have risk register. You can have your risk register mapped to the data you are collecting from these diverse fields, and that can be managed as a overall entire thing. That is the need of an hour. That you need to have your, ultimately IT cannot speak on IT. Like you cannot go to your business management or top management or a owner of the company and tell him that I have a IP address this and that. He will not understand this, obviously. You need to have a context. You can say that I have a finance system which has got breached on this date at this location, and there was a response procedure or a remediation procedure. It took me 4 hours to remediate that, and this is what are the steps where I'm trying to take to mitigate that risk. You need to have this kind of solution in place which has got all these ingredients, and then only you can say that at least you have a solution which can take the external or the internal available intelligence, fuse it with the collection, data collection parameters, and provide you with some actionable intelligence to mitigate any such kind of deviation of normal behavior, deviation of patterns which are of high nature for you. So right now on your slide, you can see the expanding, like coming to the RSA. It's known that RSA has got a lot of portfolio, the product portfolio. Most of the companies, all the organizations, or the people in the market, they know RSA mostly as an organization which has got secure ID, the FOB tokens. Yeah, all of you must have used it some of the time. Now, there are other product solutions which we had for a period of time. RSA is obviously putting much efforts into the intelligence-driven security portfolios. So we have got solutions around anti-fraud solutions. We have got earlier a product of SIEM, which every one of us know as an Envision, which was like across the board. All of us know about it. We have a data loss prevention solution. The Archer as a governance, risk, and compliance platform is obviously known to every one of us as the leading marketing solution, which provides the framework for the executives to have a visibility on, from the governance point of view, on the risk and compliance data of the entire organization, and have the business level dashboards to measure the metrics of the IT operations, the business, and the risk teams. And then I was discussing about network collection, network forensics, having that visibility into the networks or the actual packets which are running in the wire. So there was an acquisitions over a period of time, the RSA. And this is the vision of RSA, to have all these things in place to have the capabilities around to help customers grow into mature and need-of-the-hour solutions which will cater to the actual security of your environment. And then we had Silvertail, which we have, RSA has renamed as a web threat detection. This basically is a known solution which gives the visibility into the web applications part of it. Who is accessing your websites, what they are accessing, what page they are accessing. You can have an event, even the clickstream analysis, what kind of attacks you might are facing. Is there any behavior-based patterns, like is there any deviation of a user accessing a particular part of your, or a portion of your web application? Is there any change from the normal behavior? It does all the analysis, the clickstream analysis, we call it as the web analysis. And it adds to the entire story of the visibility analysis and action. And then the identity and access management obviously has got its identity governance part of it on top of the identity and access management. It does the governance part of it, like, okay, who has done the, what kind of roles you are having for your users in each of the applications, whether it's a custom application or a native application in-house or some off-the-shelf applications. And there are diverse users, whether it's a contractor or it's an internal employee or an external employee, with a transfer of users. How do you automate all those things and have visibility who is accessing what? So keeping in all these products in range, I don't want to focus only on the products here. The overall messaging is that having the right solutions in place gives me the right information about the network and the happenings within an organization holistically, when I can run on top of it the analytics and give you the visibility. And then based on that visibility, I can analyze and give the actionable intelligence to my team.
So, I had one question. Before we move to the other slides, that is, RSA has taken Envision to the end of life cycle. Can you please tell us a little bit about why did you take it to the end of life cycle, and how did it emerge after you combined two of the other products? It will be great to know about why did you kind of kill Envision and kind of gave rebirth to something else.
Exactly. So let me explain a bit about this. The whole thing which I discussed till now is the same thing which RSA has been using. All the products RSA is using internally because we are part of an EMC conglomerate. So we are using all these products as part of internal. So earlier, Envision was also part of the EMC story. Now, what happened? Over a period of time, we were not able to get the results. So we have not taken out Envision on a whole. Like, it's not that Envision is out or something and then we have stopped. So it is actually a transformation. So as in the slide which you are seeing right now, I have network monitoring and forensics part as Netwitness. It was an acquisition. Before that, there was in network intelligence that's called the Envision. So two acquisitions were different acquisitions. So what we did is, we see that Envision only helped us to get visibility into logs because it was meant for logs on the solution. So we were not able to get the entire visibility because that's what is required for a kind of solution which is the need of our and which is required for better security. Now, coming from that, we had network forensic solution that we call as a Netwitness. Now we got these two products fused together. They're still the same products. We have fused together. Their database have been merged. Now, that merger of the solutions is called security analytics. So that is how these two solutions in a single platform collect your logs, collect your packets, collect your identity information, collect your web application visibility, have your identity governance, have your DLP logs, everything into one place, and we then built a modular approach that, okay, if you want to collect logs also, yes, you can do. Can you correlate between a log and a packet? Yes, I can do. Because that was the need of the hour. What a user did was he connected. That is what I got from logs. What he downloaded. Did he download something? No. Did he download, and after downloading, suppose he has downloaded a malware infected file. What happened after that? Was there any connection from the machine on which it was downloaded to a known bad sites or to some sites which we don't have business with? Suppose you don't have business with ABC organization or an ABC company across the world. So my machine should not talk to, suppose, Middle East, or it should not speak to Nigeria, or it should not speak to Australia for that matter, because I don't do business over there. So if it starts communicating there, it's a threat for me. So can I do the threat monitoring also? So we keep on adding to this platform, and that is this whole intelligence-driven security concept in the picture. We have fused these two products together, and it's called security analytics. We use the content of Envision, the functionalities of Envision, and we use the platform of Netwitness and fuse them together, and this product is called as security analytics. So does that answer your question, Vikas? Is it clear?
Yeah. So basically now you can not only detect the incidents or correlate and stuff like that, you can also go and do some forensics and find out the root cause analysis. You can also probably do some replay. Can you do replays and kind of stuff?
Yes. So we can do a lot of things. Like we can replay sessions as it is. Suppose you have got a phishing email in your organization. You are capturing the networks. Assuming that you have a network capture in place, you have a packet capture in place, you have your website captured in place, you have logs being collected from entire business units. Now, there's a phishing email which has come and it has started spreading like a worm within the organization. Now, you want to see what happens. You want to go for a root cause analysis. Within same single user interface or a unified management interface, you can click on the log or a packet, and you can directly rebuild the sessions of that network entire activity. Suppose that email downloaded or the web connection, you can recreate the website, you can the page which they have actually gone to, and you can have visibility into the files which they downloaded. You can download that file, perform an offline malware analysis on that, or an online malware analysis on that. So you have this tools and all these things built within the system. You don't need to go anywhere else. So just a click, you will get reconstruction of the email in front of you, and you can do the analysis. You can have packet level analysis on that and see how it does. So the intelligence-driven security, how it is an action is what we discussed, that every company has got an identity and access on either an on-premise or on cloud, and they generate some data. That data can be logs, packets, netflows, endpoints, IDs, vulnerabilities, threats, n number of information sources. So all these things can be analyzed. So I should have an analytical platform, and this analytical platform can be either threat-based, fraud-based, compliance-based, or identity-based, which the one which we discussed. And all of this entire, as an organization, I need to have visibility. For that, I need governance, risk, and compliance mechanism. So that's the way to go. So this is the approach how an intelligence-driven security works on field or on ground. You have diverse identities. You collect the data from them. You do the analytics on top of it. You have a mechanism or a platform in place where you govern on top of this entire collection of data and have a clear visibility in your organization. So next, because I think I discussed about this next approach, which is why should we have logs, packets, and endpoints in place? Why not only logs? The challenge we had in earlier environments. If you just have a typical scenario, I have an organization which is exposed on internet, and there's a firewall. There is a typical scenario, a one-dimensional scenario. Now, if you just click on one more, I will get the first thing. Earlier, I used to have only logs. So what logs give me? So the logs give me only the basic information. So I collect logs from the firewall. I have basic information. Who has connected to what? Whether it is accepted or denied, based on the access control lists on the firewall. Now, based on the packets, how you got infected and what attacker did, I need to know about that. And if I have Netflows also enabled, I can collect from the Netflows, S-flows, A-flows. I can say how far intrusion has spread within my organization. And I have a visibility of endpoints. I should be able to see where is that infection actually located on the actual place where it all initiated from. So this is the intelligence-driven approach which, as an organization, you need to have. That is the reason we have migrated or transformed from the earlier Envision to security analytics. And that is what we prescribe to the organizations to cater to the current demands of the network security portfolio. Next, we have is so do you want me to continue on this because for the next product, like how the architecture looks like, I can give a typical security operations center, how it looks like. If you can come on to the next slide. This should be an approach like if you have a visibility, action, and intelligence. Okay, so this is actually an approach. How do you prepare yourself, and what are the products you use on this approach? So this is a product portfolio which you can always go to website, RSC website, or we can send it across to you that you can skip up. I think we can go to the next slide.
So you want us to go to the from the field section, right?
Yeah, I think we can say what from the field. Yeah, that will quickly. We'll spend some 5 minutes over there. We can at least see what is the approach.
And before we move on to this, I think this is very interesting. That is on the successful strategy. We had one of the questions from the audience, which was pertinent to what you mentioned just some time back. So the audience wanted to know, like, what kind of machine learning or things like that are you using for your security analytics, or are you extensively using machine learning algorithms in security intelligence in order to kind of tackle the problem?
Okay, so the kind of models which are currently being used are, we have a Pivotal platform, which is a warehouse. It's an ANC warehouse. What it does is actually it collects this information from various sources, and then the intelligence we gather from various resources. Like we have either it's a source of threat intelligence feeds, which RSA has got its own, along with the third-party intelligence which has already got from the contracts or the visibility, which is from the market leaders. We collect all this threat intelligence, and it is as a subscribed as a service to the platform itself. Now, that threat intelligence feeds is one source of we can say actionable intelligence. Other sources, rules or the correlations. And third one is the behavioral based profiling. And the fourth dimension which we have added, which is not new to the market, is we are creating the data science models. What is a data science model is a use case based, what we say, as a machine learning concepts and all these things. So it's not actually a machine learning scenario, it's a use case model. Like for a typical identity source, what could be the possible use cases, possible scenarios? An ID or an attack can be happen on a particular identity source, which is exposed to internet or an internal network. All those patterns are modeled into a predefined set, and whenever an analysis is done on a workbench, like you continuously there's an analysis happening, and that model is running on the data which is getting collected in that analytical database in the backend, in the Pivotal warehouse. That model is self-learning, self-adapting, and it adds the scoring mechanism to that. And based on that scoring, it automatically creates that baseline and then creates the alert mechanism and helps in prioritization of those incidents. And obviously the reporting part of it.
Great. So I skipped a couple of slides. In the interest of time, you wanted to discuss on architecture and sizing. That's what I got from what you mentioned last time. So I skipped a couple of slides and move on to the architecture and sizing, what to consider. Is this the slide which you wanted to focus on?
Exactly, yeah, this is the one. So as an organization, what you need to know what are the number of locations. These are the key features. So I think if you go through it, it's very self-explanatory also. There is a focus on two main things which is going on in the industry. What is the cost versus the the output. So that how to manage it, you need to have a performance benchmarking. What's the optimal performance I need to have? So how many users are going to use my network? How many users are going to access this information from the back end, the one from which are managing these architecture, the security, intelligence-driven approach. So what's the storage required for it? What is the capacity I need to have? So what is the proposed capacity at the analysis layer? So layer-wise approach, what is the growth I'm having for the next thing? What is the total count devices which are critical in nature? Or do I have a device criticality, or we can say the categorization done? Is it in place? Who are going to be the owners? What are the places? Do I need a high availability or a redundancy kind of thing? What is the log retention period? How much log I need to replicate? Is it necessary? Is it required? All those kind of things. It's self-explanatory. People can go through it, and if there are any points.
And Ishtiaq, you have quite a few interesting slides even after this, and I think in the interest of time we might not be able to go through the detail, but maybe you could just talk about it at a very high level, and we can share the presentation with everybody. Like the next slide on your coverage, how do you figure out like whether your advanced solution is covering the key elements or not, right? So I'll kind of go through the next few slides. If you could just give a very high-level overview, and we can then share it with the audience later on.
Okay, great. So next slide, which will come to you, is the coverage slide. This will give you as an information CISO, or owner of the security program. It will give you a visibility. What kind of event sources I should have. So this is categorized based on the information sources or the categories. So have this information in place when you are planning to have a security project rollout in place. So that comes under the coverage. I think it is quite visible. So then there is an interesting slide, which is an approach for an advanced security operations center, which people say that security operations center is only SIEM. I personally don't agree, because security operations center has got coverage of all things. It covers your governance, risk, compliance, all these things fall under security. Whatever is the security has to be managed within security operations center. Now, there might be different owners, or there might be different users for that information, but the onus lies on the security team. So as a security operations center, you need to have a proper objective. So that definition of the security or SOC objectives is very much important. So once you have objectives in place, then you can have a review approach in place. The second phase, that means, are you covering the entire assets? Are you having the application level monitoring? What is the incident detection capabilities you have? Is there any need of performance optimization? And then have some actionable intelligence processes in place. See, I see most of these projects fail or do not give output because there is no participation, or we can say there is no balance between people, process, and technology. You need to invest on skills also, because you need to have processes in place. Though you have purchased the technology, if you're not having people, right processes in place which are mapped to your environment, you'll never succeed in a project which is security oriented. And that is why the education around this, workshops around this, is a very important factor. You need to take the business teams on board, speak to them, need of the approach you're taking, and obviously the slide which I'm talking to right now is that approach. So if you are building up a security operation kind of environment or investment you're doing, have this approach in place as a baseline. You'll see the difference going on.
Ishtiaq, I agree with you. Ishtiaq, I agree with you. In fact, all the few organizations whom I know who built SOC, each of them actually have very different objectives. So maybe at some point of time, if you can help to create an elaborate checklist kind of thing in terms of mapping from the objective to the actions, that will be very helpful. You could probably write something and we could share it with our community.
Exactly. So if there is any need of a discussion, like we can have a follow-up session anytime soon. We can see if they require to discuss on this. We can have a discussion anytime. But my point is that whatever you are trying to achieve, you need to have the basic objective in place, then have a mechanism for review in place. That means define metrics, whatever you are trying to do. So have small steps in place. And obviously, I have mentioned some critical capabilities which you should look for when you are going for a solution. So put up some smileys. So for that means it is mandatory. So you should always look for these things, whether the solution is there or not. And
yeah, Nishtha, this is something which we really like. In fact, for everybody, what we are trying to do is we are trying to create these frameworks for evaluation of various technologies. Right now we are focusing on around, I think, 10 or 12, which we are going to. We got the first draft. We are now collecting feedback from the CSOs and the community as well as the product vendors. So during the decision summit, which will happen in June, along with top 100 CISO awards, we are going to publish each of those. And what you mentioned here is actually very, very interesting. And we need probably at the next level to drill one level deeper or two level deeper and convert this thing into an action. Like, for example, in threat intelligence, what question can I ask? Like, for example, if we could convert this into questions like, can the SIEM detect, say, the early sign of attacks before even the real attack happens? Because suppose when the recon phase is going on by the attacker, there are a few known patterns, right? So you know that the recon phase is going on. So can I get the early warning? So, or
exactly. So there are,
or suppose from the
yes.
Please go ahead, Ishtiaq.
You're right, Vikas. So, sorry to interrupt you. So I'm saying that there are. This is a high-level platform which we are trying to explain today because it's 1 hour. It's a very huge subject because it covers the entire landscape of your organization. So to discuss all these things, it cannot be done in one slide. So I will suggest you go through it so we can have a follow-up discussions on this. We can, if we want to discuss once again, we can come again and have a full discussion on each of these capabilities from day one, what should be there and what should not be there, and have a drill down features available. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and thanks, by the way, for those who are part of listening to the webinar right now. We requested Ishtiaq to actually present his views on what should be the critical capabilities so that we can take in his inputs and consider it as a part of the framework. So it will be great, all of you who are part of the webinar, if you could help in terms of creating those questions. I believe this is a great way to have that high-level taxonomy, the high-level kind of grouping. Now beyond that, the next level, what specific question can we ask so that we can do a real evaluation? For example, one which I mentioned is that can I detect the early sign of reconnaissance kind of thing, or is the SIEM detecting classical arc poisoning and MITM attacks? Now, as a product, typically the feature and functionality will be there, but many times the configuration and the training and everything is not done properly, and as a result you'll see that if you actually do a arc poisoning or MITM attack, it might go unnoticed, or you might not get the alert on time and stuff like that. So if we could create this set of questions, and I request all the everybody, including Ishtiaq and those who are listening to the webinar, to send us those questions. You know the email ID of Priyanka. You could just send it to Priyanka's ID. That will be great in terms of creating the kind of community RFP which we are trying to build. That will be really helpful. And thanks to Ishtiaq for putting this together at the last moment.
Thank you, Vikas. Thanks to all of your teams for setting this up. So I would appreciate feedback and kind of things if you want from any kind of help or any kind of support from my side. So whatever I have done from my side or my personal experiences or what RSA is doing, we are ready to extend our help to the entire community. So I am always ready. Whatever information we have and the learnings, we can share it with you and the kind of approach, papers or white papers we require. So do come to our mailbox. I think Vikas or Priyanka can just help us out in that.
Wonderful. And Ishtiaq, I know that there are a few more slides on demo use cases, etc. Would you like to continue with that, or since we are out of time, you would like to keep it for the next
I think we have already we have breached the time. So I wanted to discuss one of the use cases which I had mentioned over there. This is the latest use case, which is a very, very big use case right now. Happened, I think, this month only. it got into news. So it has happened since last so many months, but it will take some around 15 to 20 minutes to make it understand. So I think we don't have that much time. So if you can do one thing, if you can just have a follow-up session on use cases only, we can do a use case scenarios in a different webinar.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great. Thank you, Ishtiaq. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for those who have asked the questions. So I actually tried to ask some of the questions in between, and we tried to keep it conversational. There are some other persons who asked that since we rushed across many slides, could we share the presentation? The answer is definitely yes. And we will request the CISO platform team to send the presentation to you. And we want to thank all of you. And by the way, we have come up with the first version of the first draft of CPI report, which you know is the community-based rating for security products based on customer satisfaction. So it's 100% customer satisfaction based rating for security products. So the first draft is ready now. We went to 3 different cities, 2 feedback, collected a lot of data. So the data is not enough, but we believe this is good to go for the beta launch. And we are going to launch the report during the Decision Summit and the Top 100 CISO Awards happening during June. So at that point of time, we'll have a few interesting stuff like launching the CPI report. We will also launch this 10 or 12 technology evaluation or benchmarking checklist. We will also have very focused discussions on choosing the right technology. That's going to be the theme of Decision Summit. So during that time, we will present the taxonomy of the entire security landscape. Like for example, in suppose application security testing, you have got SAST, DAST, IAST, RASP. Now IAST and RASP are something new. So we will discuss on the pros and cons of each of these. We will tell you that which company has got features or functionality in each of those domains. So what's the coverage? And we studied around 2,000 security product companies across the globe, and I was personally surprised. So the research team at CISO platform is preparing all these things. We'll present the entire security product landscape so that you know who all the vendors are, who got features and or functionality coverage in which domain. The CPI report, the evaluation criteria, and also the top 100 CISOs will share their biggest learning from last year during the event. So I just wanted to give a kind of brief overview of what's coming up and what kind of research we are focusing on. And we will request all of you to contribute in terms of sharing your knowledge. You will soon receive an email so that you could share your knowledge in the domains which we mentioned so that we can put it into the frameworks, and also good to have you as speakers. So thanks everybody. Thank you, Ishtiaq. Look forward to you seeing you sometime and maybe in some other webinar or talk. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Vikas. Thanks for the team. Thank you. Thanks all.
Thank you everybody who attended. Have a wonderful day.